Thank you very, very much, Till. This was very, very interesting to hear from you, to see all the examples of CRISP and Picasa that you gave us. And I really like that you put the context of, the local and the global initiatives and the importance of the contribution of climate information to food security and other agricultural developments in the forefront of your presentation. And seeing the numbers of participants today and from which projects they come, I'm absolutely certain that there will be a lively discussion and many questions to you already burning on their fingers. So I invite the audience to please raise your hand. I can't see you at the moment. I have to change the view a little bit. Raise your hand and don't feel shy to ask Till questions while he is here. Also knowing that you can approach him after this presentation today as well. Okay, we have a hand, Thuy Nguyen from UNIRES, University
Thank you
of
very much, Dr. Pillow, for the talk. I'm Thuy from COIS project. So in COIS, we are also using some sort of, let's say, climate data to find out or to evaluate some sustainable identification practices for the farmers in Ghana and Senegal. I think it's really well, let's say, for this topic. So my question that in CRISP platform and in ePICSA platform, you inform the farmer by some sort of digital climate information system. But my question that how with the data source, how the system were fitted by the data source, climate data source, where the data come from, and then how the reliability or accuracy of the data, because I guess in the African context, you may have some problem with the data quality. This is my question. Thank you.
Before I allow you to answer that question, I would like to invite Pilot to also ask his question so that we have two questions.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Pilot from Minadu Project, and I've had 3 questions. The first one is the one asked, and this is very challenging for African countries. And the question is the accuracy of the provisions. Yeah, the one asked, because there is a problem on the reliability of the data. My second question has to do with the CRISP tool. The CRISP tool. I was exciting when the tool was when the presenter was explaining the tool, and in my mind I did not really get how it works. And my question to him, what are the hypotheses behind it? I'm asking this because I saw it general, and I don't know how it factor or take into account the context specificity. If I want to use it and apply it to Kara region, a community in Kara in Togo at the north, how does it work? And you said it helps to screen climate risk and also identify adaptation strategy. How does it work? Can you please, can you build more on that? I will stop here. And also, if you can explain a little bit more on the second tool, the participatory integrated climate service for agriculture. I did not really get very well how it works. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pilo. Over to you, Till. Maybe you can also combine some of these questions in your answer.
Yeah, happy to do that. Yeah, I think both Thuy and Pilo, you referred to the constraints of data availability. Yeah, and yes, of course, this is a key constraint. I think we all agree. And I can try to answer this question for the two approaches that I presented separately. So when it comes to the CRISP tool that I presented first, we are speaking of a relatively coarse assessment. That's what we also explain and we highlight on the website. This is some kind of introductory screening, yeah, which builds on global available data sets, yeah, and scientific studies. It is still more refined and more granular, as a lot of other tools and climate risk databases, yeah, that give a very coarse overview from like an entire country and so on, yeah, in the sense that you can select the farming system. Yeah, Pilo, you also asked how does it really work? Yeah, you select first your farming system in Kara region. Yeah, some time ago that I had a bit of exposure to Togo, so I can't really say, but I would say let's suppose that this is a semi-arid maize mixed farming system. Then for this entire farming system, there are some climate impacts that are then also linked to the country where it's operating, and then this is kind of explained, the impacts from scientific literature. So the work that SIAT did there was to screen the scientific literature for the maize mixed farming system. What are the key climate impacts, and what are the interrelations, and what are some adaptation options? Yeah, and they are grouped according to the climate risk definition of the IPCC. And I think this is already a considerable improvement to some more like blanket approaches. But of course, as you also said, this is a local, we in adaptation, we speak about local conditions, local climate risks, and so on. So this can only be the check at a more aggregate level, and also the input for some further analysis. And we have also some tools like the sourcebook vulnerability or sourcebook climate risk on further more participatory assessments. There are also other very good tools out there, and this can be a major ingredient. But very often at the policy level or at the project planning level, we lack the time and the resources and also the expertise to do such kind of in-depth assessment when we are planning a project or a policy, yeah, or writing the policy. So this is the specific niche where it can be, where it can help. You asked how does it work to develop adaptation strategies, yeah, at the national level, at even regional level. This can be the adaptation climate risk link or information inputted in such kind of a document, yeah. But then if we speak about all that needs to happen at the local level, yeah, this is not kind of provided by the CRISP tool. But and there I showed this Pixar approach and the ePixar project, which is, yeah, to my experience, one of the most profound approaches in this area, and very well documented with very strong evidence on the impact. Yeah, and there to come back to Ty's question about where does the data come from and the accuracy of the data. So maybe for CRISP, accuracy of the data is okay, because it's quite aggregate, yeah, and these are official data sources and scientific peer-reviewed literature. And for Pixar, the information builds upon local climatology. So as you saw, the National Meteorological Institutes, they are a key stakeholder, and they are supported to screen and quality control their own observed climate data. So in Zambia, for example, in many other African countries, there exists a huge wealth of meteorological data, all piled in some archives, often not digital. Yeah, and then University of Reading, they have splendid approaches and very long experience there, how to rescue this together. I mean, how they can provide guidance for national actors to rescue this and to do the quality control with R-Instat to do some quality screening, for example, to screen for the outliers. So I had the privilege to attend some of these trainings that were implemented by University of Reading to the National Met Services. And it's really heartwarming to see the level of energy and the commitment of people working on their national climate database there. And of course, this is mainly retrospect, yeah, historic data, but this is already such a win. Yeah, and it's so important to have this local climate, historic climate data. Often people are more excited about the forecasts, but the big advantage of the local historic data is that this is accurate, this is certain. Yeah, and if you have this now in a digital fashion available to all the extension officers, yeah, which is the case in Malawi, in Rwanda, and so on, it's a huge step if you can combine it with also decision support tools. Yeah? So this is how it works to bring it into real decision support at the last mile. I stop here. I could continue, but I notice I get carried away.
No, very, very interesting too. And that gave you also the opportunity to go a little bit more into depth. Super. So, Pilo, you had a third question. Do you
Yes, small thing. How to have access to the tools, those tools, how can we get access to it?
All right.
Yeah, so I shared the link to the CRISP website.
Maybe you can put the link into the chat.
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
Take it from the chat.
And so you can play with it. There are some tutorials also, or some videos that explain a bit how to go about it. We are extremely grateful for any kind of feedback. Yeah, and yeah, please reach out to us if you have a concrete application case. Also, maybe in the frame of new research projects, if you want to build your research proposal on a thorough climate rationale, climate narrative, yeah, with good climate adaptation hypothesis. So we would be so eager to learn from your experience. And then with Pixar, as I said, there are about 30 countries where this has been rolled out in different locations. So Togo, unfortunately, is not yet part of it. It really involves close collaboration with a number of stakeholders. It's also the authority of the national government to share historic climate data. So this is nothing where University of Reading would just take the lead. The data is always completely managed by the National Met Services. It is usually not even stored with University of Reading. Yeah, they are doing only the quality control backstopping for this. Yeah, but this has been received so positively that I think in the future there will be more application cases. Yeah, has been cited about I think in 4 chapters of the recent IPCC report and in various other like landmark publications. So I hope you will hear from this also in the case of Togo very soon.
Thank you very much, Till, for this one. We've got a question here in the room.
Yeah. Hi, Till. Very inspiring talk. I like the CRISP approach and have but one question to your ePixar you presented. I was just discussing that with Siad in the World Food Program in Guatemala and Senegal, and especially in relation to the gender dimension. And they both said, well, they have not really yet addressed that. Research has been also relatively gender blind in this regard. And they mentioned typical bottlenecks like either women don't have mobile phones, they don't have access to extension services, or much less, and that the forecasting is often not addressing actually crops which are more of relevance for women, as some examples. And I was wondering whether you could, maybe you have some experiences, or you might have discussed it already on the ground, how we can make the digital climate information services also more relevant than for women in the farming sector, that the information reaches them. Yeah, if you can, or maybe you see different gaps, which I haven't really mentioned yet, and you could elaborate a little bit on gaps and also solutions you might have already worked on.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Thanks so much. And you referred to Guatemala, and what was the other country?
Senegal was the other case.
Senegal. Yeah, so actually PICSA has been piloted in both countries already.
I know.
At a rather small case, yeah, and or a small scale, and so the analog version of PICSA. So PICSA is not really the tool that I presented here. This is a small add-on that was recently developed with some BMZ funding, yeah, to be precise, yeah. And the key is really not this tool. The key is a successful model, delivery model, so to say, yeah. And in the context of this ePICSA project, we have put quite a bit of focus on the gender topic. Fortunately, we have a gender expert, a senior scientist with a PhD on gender and climate information services from Reading University, also in this team. And so there were some training and some in the app. I can also share the app itself. You can play around with it. There are some modules on gender sensitive decision making, so to say. And but in general, and of course you can imagine under the current feminist development policy and with all our safeguards, and so we have high standards within GIZ to be accountable to this topic, and not just measure, so to say, the number of female beneficiaries or participants and so on. So the, I think, great opportunity in this case is that this is an approach to influence household decision making. Yeah, this is not really about blanket approaches. You should use this seeds or something like that. Yeah, and this is really an opportunity to, in a very careful way, to also mention and bring to the discussion the question of who decides and how decisions are made. Yeah, and this has been quite successfully implemented there. Then I could put you in contact with some scientists that can also elaborate more on that. And then the question of the mobile devices is really not so prominent in this case, because this is not a digital extension tool. It's a digital tool for extension workers, so to say, but not a direct to farmer, necessarily a direct to farmer approach. And of course, the question is of share of female extension workers and so on. But so far, this can be a bottleneck, I think, but has not emerged in the case of Malawi and Zambia as a key bottleneck.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Are there any other? There is a question in the chat from Brigitte Kaufmann. She has searched something and looked at the PICSA. She's asking whether there is a link.
Yeah, I wanted to share it.
Space. Is this the PICSA guide? CG space server? Can you just maybe look through that link?
I'm sharing here the Pixar app, and then
Okay.
the guide you can find on the University of Reading website. There are some also reference at CG sites because they have collaborated with University of Reading in various projects, but I think the main source you can find here, what I just posted.
All right, so Brigitte, that should also have solved your question. Are there any other questions? Are there any hands by some people who want to take the opportunity of Till being here? Yes, Human, Hosseini? There you go, you've got the word, you're still muted, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Bilo, for the presentation. You were talking about the reliability of the data, and you have referred to the name of the University of Reading and Pixar. To the best of my knowledge, University of Reading is a very well-established university in the meteorology and climate science. So I'm wondering whether, because they have established a kind of data sets especially made and developed for Africa continent called Tomsat. I'm wondering, do you have any information whether there is any relationship between the Pixar and Tomsat dataset? And yeah, thank you if you could elaborate us. Thanks.
Yeah, this is an exciting question again. It was also a privilege for me to learn more about the gridded products that are out there and remote sensing products, and how this could also be part of the solution during the course of the project implementation. So in this case, the Tomsat work is not used within Pixar because from what I understand, I'm not an expert in this field. It is too coarse. Yeah, it is rather used for climate risk insurance, for example, purposes where some average data, also on precipitation and so on, are good enough, so to say. Pixar, for the extension work, for the farming farmers' advice, is mainly relying so far on the historic climatology, local climatology, and the authoritative, like forecasts from the Met services. Yeah, for the reason that I explained, and that this is authoritative information, and then also the historic information is quite, so to say, yeah, unbiased and very certain. Then I think there is a potential to further develop this, to do some kind of combination of historic and remote sensing data, observed and remote sensing data. And there, University of Reading and Pixar team is, I believe, experimenting and working with the NX dataset, a similar dataset to Tomsat. And I think yeah, they would be better to answer the question why they prefer NX over that. And there are a lot of pitfalls in this combined merged data sets.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? There has been some discussion here in the room for further questions. Anybody from the audience out there who would like to raise their hand? Otherwise, yes, Brigitte, go ahead.
Okay, just in the last minute. Thank you very much for your presentation. I also want to continue from what Human said, and also Pilo, I think. Really the issue or the problem that we all face is that weather forecast is not really forecasting for a long period. I mean, now here in Europe for 3 days, relatively reliable, and already 1 week is not really possible. And then for tropical countries, it's even worse. And I was wondering, so this is, of course, something that we have to take into account and not think as if the possibilities would be better. So this information is not available for nobody. And in the same way, I wanted to find out more about the efforts that are made with regard to early warning, because early warning is, of course, affected by this. And so there are a lot of efforts. So I would be happy to get maybe also a bit of critical reflection, but also developments that you find very good, where we have possibilities that were not existing some time ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, I think here the question, or one question, is also about the purpose and the use of climate services or early warning systems. There are different purposes and different, so to say, sources that are fit for different purposes. And I think for the policy level, yeah, we have this regional, for example, crop forecasting models and seasonality forecasts that are already quite good. Yeah, for the local level and really local decision making. Yes, there's a gap when it comes to more accurate forecasts, seasonal forecasts, for example, also. But to some extent, I think we can circumvent that a bit. Of course, there is further work is necessary, yeah, and this kind of integration of different sources observed and modeled and then also remote sensing data, I think, is a very important avenue for research, which I'm not an expert at all. But then to use the climate information for decision making, again, I would say that the historic climatology is such a treasure that is often not put in practice, not used, yeah, because yeah, in the end, it depends on the user making different decisions based on the information, yeah. And I think we have already such an asset if we could implement this at a larger level, yeah, broader level, using the local climatology, and then adding gradually the more forecast oriented products. I hope this answered to some degree to your question. Otherwise, please come in and dig a bit deeper. Unfortunately, I have to leave in about 3 minutes because I have a follow-on assignment. I'm happy to continue the discussion in some other format or bilaterally.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Till, for your time. You see some people already clapping. Thank you so much. It was a deep insight into the climate information world and in some of the tools that are possible with all the pitfalls that you have, obviously. And I really like that some of these, especially the CRISP, you said it's a starting point from which people can then continue to develop their own solutions. And I think that is very good. And I do hope that we'll stay in touch with you through the projects, also to contribute, as you said. And I wish everybody on screen and in the room all the best. Thank you very much. We'll, as I said in the chat, we'll post the colloquium, including the slides, onto the website where you can access them in a couple of weeks, I would say. Thank you very much. Thanks, Gil.
Yeah, thank you very much also from my side. It's a really pleasure to discuss this in such a nice audience, and I hope to continue the exchange. And I also posted a link to the pig study that evaluated PIXA in Zambia, and I believe that the same people, Christoph Gornert and his team, are also part of interfaces. So I think you have a direct link there also.